Have you ever stepped out onto a busy street only to find yourself, literally dodging traffic because the sidewalk just abruptly ends? Or maybe there was just never a sidewalk there to begin with. You kind of grip your bag, hug the edge of the road, and just hope for the best. It's an everyday reality for millions of us. But here's a question that completely flips that everyday experience on its head. Do you actually have a constitutional right to walk safely? I mean, it sounds almost too basic to even be a legal question, doesn't it? But the answer to that question has just undergone a monumental shift, and it completely changes the power dynamic between you, the pedestrian, and the city you live in. Okay, let's dive into this explainer on a truly historic shift in Indian urban planning law. We are looking directly at the Supreme Court of India's landmark 2026 ruling that elevates a simple, everyday act, walking, to a protected legal status. This isn't just about, pouring more concrete or slapping some painted lines on a road. This is about a profound reevaluation of who our public spaces are actually built for. By the time we wrap this up, you're going to see your daily commute, your neighborhood streets, and honestly your local government in a completely different light.
Section 1. The Vehicle-Centric City, the Modern Urban Imbalance. Before we get into the heavy constitutional law, we absolutely have to look at the everyday problem the Supreme Court recognized here. I mean, look at the stark contrast. Modern infrastructure has become excessively vehicle-centric. Think of our roads as a VIP fast lane designed almost exclusively for cars. We see millions poured into widening lanes, building massive overpasses, and smoothing out asphalt, right? But meanwhile, pedestrian safety is completely sidelined. People on foot are essentially treated as second-class citizens in their own neighborhoods. We're forced to navigate dangerous, unmarked, or totally non-existent paths, often walking mere inches from high-speed traffic. The Supreme Court looked at this severe infrastructure imbalance and decided they absolutely had to step in.
Section 2. The landmark pedestrian ruling. The June 19, 2026 decision.
This is where the highest court intervened to correct this glaring issue. For those of you who want the exact legal coordinates of this historic moment, the case is Maniyar Ilias alias Sheikh Riaz and another versus P. Ayyappan and others. The citation is 2026 INSC 647. Presided over by Justice P.S. Narasimha and Justice A.S. Chandorkar, this ruling represents the exact moment the legal tide finally turned in favor of the pedestrian. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific phrasing the court used here. They called it the right to walk. The court didn't just casually suggest that cities should, try a little harder to build sidewalks. No, they ruled that the right to walk on safe, demarcated footpaths is a protected fundamental right. Think about the absolute gravity of that for a second. It literally upgrades the pedestrian to constitutional VIP status. A safe, clearly marked footpath is no longer just some urban planning suggestion or a luxury feature reserved for wealthy neighborhoods. It is a fundamental legal entitlement.
Section 3. Understanding Articles 21 and 19, the legal framework.
So where exactly does this new fundamental right come from? Well, the court drew upon two of the most powerful provisions in the Indian Constitution to really anchor this decision. First up is Article 21, the right to life and personal liberty. This guarantees that no person shall be deprived of their life or personal liberty except according to a procedure established by law. By anchoring the right to safe footpaths right here, the court is making a huge statement. They're saying that walking safely is intertwined with the very essence of living freely. You can't fully enjoy your right to life and personal liberty if simply walking down the street puts your physical safety at extreme risk due to negligent city planning. It's as essential as breathing or living freely.
Let's move to and see how this builds directly into the second pillar of their decision, Article 19(1)(d), which is the right to move freely throughout the territory of India. The logic here is just brilliant in its simplicity. I mean, what good is the constitutional freedom of movement if you physically cannot step out of your home to walk to the market or the bus stop without risking your life? The court recognized that the right to move freely naturally and necessarily mandates the physical, safe spaces to actually do that moving, namely safe and demarcated footpaths.
Section 4. The right to dignity beyond just concrete.
So the crucial point is that this ruling goes far beyond just concrete, asphalt, and zoning laws. It touches a really deep, emotional human rights core. The court explicitly linked the ability to walk safely to the concept of living with dignity. And honestly, this is the emotional climax of our explainer today. When a city fails to provide a safe space for its citizens to walk, forcing them to scurry along the edge of a highway or literally jump out of the way of speeding vehicles, it's an affront to human dignity. Being protected from harm while simply existing and moving in a public space is now formally recognized as a matter of basic human respect.
Section 5. Enforcing municipal accountability, changing city infrastructure.
And this brilliantly illustrates how this beautiful constitutional philosophy actually changes the infrastructure right outside your front door. First, providing adequate pedestrian infrastructure is now a mandatory constitutional duty for municipal and urban development authorities. This is huge. It drastically alters how future city infrastructure projects must be budgeted and planned from day one. It's not optional anymore. Second, this creates an enforceable right for us, the citizens. Because of this powerful legal precedent, citizens now have concrete steps to demand accountability. If a municipality builds a road without a sidewalk or fails to maintain safe footpaths, you don't just have to sit there and complain. You can actually file public interest litigations, or PILs, or formally approach local municipal grievance cells armed with the backing of the Supreme Court. You now possess a legally enforceable tool against urban negligence.
We started this off by asking if you had a constitutional right to walk safely, and the Supreme Court has answered with a resounding yes. The highest court has laid down the law, recognizing your dignity, your liberty, and your right to move safely on demarcated footpaths. The whole vehicle-centric era now has a strict constitutional check. So, the only question that remains to be answered is this: will your local authorities embrace this mandate, or will you have to use this new precedent to make them?